In this video, I'm going to go over the frequently asked questions for qualified opportunity funds and qualified opportunity zones. Let's go. What is a qualified opportunity zone? A qualified opportunity zone is an area of land the government has decided is in economic distress. What they're trying to accomplish is put in new businesses, new buildings, revitalize existing buildings, and specifically add jobs. Now, how they plan to do this is really, I think, a great idea. They're offering tax incentives. So how qualified opportunity zones spur economic development? In these zones, if an individual invests money into a new real estate project or a new business, they get significant tax advantages. There's two major tax advantages in a qualified opportunity zone. So I'm going to go over some right now. So the first tax advantage is a deferral on capital gains. If you invest in a qualified opportunity zone and you keep your money into the fund for at least 5 years, you will get 10% reduction on the tax owed on your capital gains on the investment you put into the deal. If you hold your money in the deal for 7 years, you would get a 15% reduction in the tax that you would owe on the capital gains. In this example here, let's say you did have $100,000 of tax that you would owe. Not only did you get a reduction of $15,000, that's a savings on tax that you would have had to pay, but in addition to that, you get to actually avoid paying the $100,000 in tax, and you get to borrow the money and put it into this new investment. Basically, the money you would have owed to the IRS at the end of the year is pushed back. You then get to use it into this new investment, and you get to gain appreciation on this basically borrowed money. So your return, your ROI on the deal is usually better. So keep in mind, you're basically borrowing money that you owe for taxes for free. Now that's good, but the next one I think is great. So what's really awesome about the second part is, let's just say you have $500,000 invested. And after 10 years, it becomes $2 million. So there's a $1.5 million profit. Because you've held the money in the deal for 10 years, you have a step up in basis. The IRS will give you a step up in basis, which means they're not going to consider you invested $500 into this deal. They're going to consider that you invested $2 million in this deal. So when you sell the property and you walk away with $1.5 million of profit, you will not owe any tax on it because of your step up in basis. You're now invested and made money tax-free. Combine these two tax incentives, it's amazing. Borrowing money up here, tax money that you would have owed, getting to reinvest the tax money you would have owed, getting to borrow that money for free basically, not having to pay it back later, and then getting a second incentive with your step up in basis. This is a great way to have a huge ROI on your money. Now, if I give you a little advanced tip, I personally don't like selling properties. So what's really awesome about this is that at year 10, I will then depreciate this building at $2 million, not $500,000. So now I get to have a $2 million building that I'm depreciating against the rental income or against any other income that I'm getting from my other rental properties. As you become a real estate investor and you make a lot of money, you need to keep buying properties to get the tax write-offs. You keep on having to sell your smaller properties to buy bigger properties for the tax write-offs. Well, what this does is you're able to keep your property and get bigger tax write-offs in the future. So not only did you get one tax write-off, two tax write-offs, you're gonna get a third tax write-off if you choose to depreciate. So you can either take the tax write-off by selling, or you can just choose to keep it and do depreciate the property and have it for the long term. Do I need to live in a qualified opportunity zone to take advantage of the qualified opportunity zone's tax incentives? The answer is no. You don't have to live in the zone or even work in the zone. You just have to make sure that you're investing your money within a qualified opportunity fund that has investments inside of a qualified opportunity zone. Where can I find a qualified opportunity zones? If you Google qualified opportunity zones, you're going to have multiple links to different government websites and IRS websites that will show you the map on what properties is located in the zone. Can I move a property into a qualified opportunity zone? And the answer is unlikely. The reason being, the qualified opportunity zones are set up by census tracts. Each tract has been pre-established for a long time. So even though that you have a property here, but the zone is over here, it really can't be shifted over. Because if this is a tract and this is a different tract, meaning a census tract, they can't change that. What ends up happening is if these are on the different sides of the street, most likely this side is associated to a neighborhood that has higher income than, say, this neighborhood, where it might become rich, less, poor, very poor. Because this road, it doesn't make much difference in the income levels between the two neighbors. This neighbor is associated with the lower income area, where this neighbor is associated with the higher income area. Same type of benefits where you would see with school zones, where this one might have the better school zone and this one might not. So that's a census tract is very difficult to change. So how's a tax incentive actually going to make a difference in a neighborhood? Most of the tax code, 99.5%, is regarding discounts and credits. Only about roughly half of 1% is regarding the tax you owe. The government would like its citizens to provide jobs and housing. That's why you'll see all of these big companies pay nothing in income tax, because they took advantage of all the different credits and discounts available to create jobs and housing. The government doesn't want to be in the business of creating jobs, doesn't want to be in the business of creating housing. And if you've noticed, many public housing projects aren't in the best condition. The actual free market does an effective job at providing quality, low-income housing at a better rate and price than the government does. So the government wants to incentivize people to work in this area by incentivizing them with tax discounts. Is it automatically going to create economic growth in this area? And the answer is it doesn't automatically or guarantee the area is going to benefit. That is why the government is offering these tax incentives. As a business person going into this area, we're putting down seeds. And our seeds are these buildings, and we're doing jobs, and you can do these different type of projects to try to benefit the area, to create more jobs, to create more housing, to create more office space. The issue that we run into when we invest in new areas that are not currently profitable, you could lose money. So the government's basically saying, we understand that you are taking a higher risk than you normally would take by investing in a neighborhood that doesn't currently pay you enough money to justify this new building. The rents aren't high enough for you to make that economic output. But in turn, by you taking that additional risk, we're going to give you discounts for investing here. And we're going to give you these tax credits for investing here to offset your risk. Now, if done properly, you can get into a qualified opportunity zone and fund that will not only give you a tax credit, but hopefully spur enough economic growth in these neighborhoods to bring up the neighborhood, to increase the property values, which will give you a higher return other than tax incentives. In my other example, which is $500,000 investment, creating $2 million worth of wealth. One thing that I think people don't really account for, or should account for more, is that you can put the nicest buildings here, and you could build out the $300,000 building, and hopefully you're planning to sell that house for $400,000. You could still end up selling that house for a loss for $275,000. We need to remember that we aren't just building up buildings. We need to build up the community. So where people get lost is thinking they can just build something and they'll come. If you build it, that doesn't mean necessarily they're gonna come. But if you build the right things, you can get people to come. So the goal normally is to build up great restaurants, locations where you can bring your kids with your family on the weekend to kind of spur energy and excitement in a neighborhood, which will cause more businesses, more restaurants, more activities. Eventually you could probably have like little parades on holidays, and those things will actually spur a community to become better, to grow, to be a community, not just a bunch of buildings that you hope people are going to rent out or buy. So a great example is actually downtown Tampa. There was a restaurant called LiQWYD, and it was right on the water. And that part of Tampa was not very nice at all. It was very rough, and nobody would build there because of how rough it was. So the city of Tampa actually gave LiQWYD a space, and they built a very nice restaurant there. And they gave them, from what I remember, like a 30-year lease, and their rent's basically free. And in turn, they were one of the first people to put a restaurant on the water in that part of the town. And that restaurant is very good. The food is very good. Great water views, and they had nice activities outside, which spurred more and more people to want to come, which encouraged other businesses to put their restaurants there. And then they started building office space, and now they're building an apartment building, and they're putting in law offices, and all these other businesses are moving into the space because they made it a destination. So by creating a destination that people want to be in, will help create the true economic growth, not just new buildings. So if you want more content, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. A lot more content coming. We post at least once a week with lots of great financial information to help you build your personal portfolio.